Hey, welcome to the Birth Boss podcast. I'm your host, Jody Congdon, and today I am sitting here, not actually sitting here, but we're together on screen with Kristin Revere. She's the owner of Gold Coast Doulas out in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We were just chatting about the weather, similar weather to the Boston area, so nobody's excited about that weather right now. But Kristin, I'm so happy to have you. You have such a great story about how you got started and where you are now. I can't wait to dive into that. But first, I want you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me, Jody. I'm a big fan of your podcast and all the work that you do in the birth and
Oh,
baby
thanks.
space. So, where to begin? I have a background in political fundraising, advertising, sales, nonprofit fundraising, had kids later in life, and was, an advanced maternal age mom. So, most of my friends had kids before I did. And I suddenly became passionate about pregnancy and birth and did a lot of research. And there just weren't a lot of resources in my area in Grand Rapids. And so with my son, I didn't know about doulas, but took a Lamaze class, switched providers, worked with a nurse midwife. And then my kids are 21 months apart. So by that time I had my daughter, um, after she was born, I was involved in breastfeeding advocacy
Mm-hmm.
and brought in some politicians that I had worked with to help me with rallies in my area. And so I got to meet doulas after Abby was born. And when I was pregnant with my son, Seth, the first call I made, besides, of course, telling my husband,
Yep.
was to the doula that I met at the rally and
Yep.
hired
Yep.
her and brought her onto my team early. And then while I was pregnant, I heard about a training for sacred pregnancy instructors that came from a book. And so I took my whole family to Virginia and was one of the first trainers in the country and started promoting my classes before my training and got a full class. And so I started teaching with the collective that the
Yep.
doula I hired owned. And so soon enough, as you know, being an educator, my students wanted me to be their doula.
Yep.
And so I wasn't certain. I felt like even teaching childbirth was more of a hobby and something that I could work around my schedule,
Yep.
and wasn't sure that I would enjoy being a birth doula. But I took the training and started working with clients through the collective and through, of course, students of mine,
Yep.
and fell in love with the work and the importance of supporting women, especially. Supporting women has always been my passion, whether it is getting women to elected to office and to feel confident fundraising, and
Yep.
now in the maternal health space. So, but working in the collective, there were many Meet the Doula nights. And coming from a corporate and political background, I wasn't really matching with the clientele
Yep.
that the
Yep.
collective that I loved was drawing in. They weren't seeing themselves wanting to work with me. And so I went to a business training, and the trainer suggested that I go on my own. And
Yep.
so I left the collective and started my own solo birth doula business. And at the time, I was not yet a postpartum doula. And then taught my classes through my own business.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
where
mean,
it
you
began.
you have to feel that connection with the clientele, and when it's off, it's off, and it's such a it's such a unique and vulnerable time, labor and delivery and postpartum, that if something's off, everything feels off. And if it's the connection in the relationship and, personality too, I mean, it doesn't have to be your personality, but it has to be a personality that matches that client. Um,
Right.
It's interesting because my birth doula, I have three daughters. My two youngest ones were home births, and my best friend's a birth doula. So she and we could not be more different in the way that we practice and the way that we care for clients. So I am super motherly, very sweet, and like, you know, she's like boot camp. Like
Right.
but I didn't want or need someone like me. Like I needed
Of
someone
course.
very much the opposite, very much like her. So it was perfect. Um, but if I had someone like me, it would have felt awful. It would have felt very like just not what I needed, not what I wanted, and that you need the vibe. Yeah, I mean, if your clients weren't connecting with you, if you weren't connecting with them, making a move was probably the smartest thing you ever did. And not even to bring in the financial piece or or the time management piece, anything like that. But just solely based on how you felt about it.
Exactly. And that model was more of pooling resources.
Yep.
So sharing funds for advertising, the space we were utilizing, any sort of trade shows. And so it didn't matter how many clients I had compared to the other doulas. We're all paying the same.
Yep.
And so I went from that model to, of course, investing in a website, getting a logo designed,
Yep.
and getting
All the fun stuff.
SEO, all the fun stuff of starting your own business. But it was also exciting. And with my background in business, it came pretty natural to me compared to many of my friends who are also doulas that just don't have the
Yep.
business background.
Yep. I have a degree in hospitality, hotel and restaurant management, and I minored in business. So I felt like, you know, all the time you spend in school and you're like, where is this going to take me? What am I going to do with this? Like it helped tremendously when I started building my business.
Yes, I can see that. And so I, again, was tapped out as a solo doula. I relied on other doula friends to back me up, but I could only take so many clients per month and felt like I could never go on vacation. And I was missing important days for my kids. And
Absolutely.
so I heard about, the partner model for birth doulas and the shared call model. And I started talking with a friend of mine who was a hypnobirthing educator, former labor and delivery nurse, and a birth doula. And we talked about sharing call together. And of course, I wanted to go bigger and impact more families. And so we talked about starting an agency, and that was the first agency in our area of West Michigan. There was the closest one was in Kalamazoo.
Yep. Good for
So
you. I mean,
yeah,
it's so, I love when I hear people say, you're so forward thinking, like, it's going to serve you, there's a clientele for it. And you really, from like the get go, did what was best for your lifestyle. Um, and that could mean, time with your family, time on vacation, finances, um, you know, all of that. And an agency model does serve all of those, things.
exactly. And we had the luxury of having our own individual brands and clients. And so we spent 6 months on the back end and creating the website. And we had a tour of all the cities that we served and a big reveal of the website. But we were, as clients were inquiring to us, we were pitching the idea of two doulas instead of one and shared call. So for that 6 months that we were planning Gold Coast Doulas, we were working together and trying out the model before we hired any other contractors
Yep.
or went public. And our clients loved it. They were obviously drawn to one of us more than the other
Yep.
was the issue because they had reached out to us individually. We're both educators, so we had a good pool of clients and connections in the community already, so it was easier than just launching a doula agency and not having that background that
Yep.
each of us did. And
Yeah.
then the
I mean,
second part of it was not only focusing on education and birth, but wanting to also bring day and overnight postpartum doulas to our area. There were a
yes.
couple of postpartum doulas that mainly did some daytime support, and some birth doulas who were not trained in postpartum that did some postpartum work for clients. So we were really the first to need to educate and created more of that demand and awareness for the role of a postpartum doula. So we brought a training to our area right after the agency launched,
Yep.
and then hired some of the students in the training
Yep.
to expand our
That's
agency.
the best way to do it.
Yes,
I'm a postpartum doula trainer, so most of my team is made up of people, or most of the contractors are people that I've trained, and the few that are not are referrals from the doulas that I've trained. So it's such a great way to build a solid foundation. Everyone is getting the same knowledge. Everyone, practices within the same scope. And then from there, they go put their own flair on it, right? So you have all the base education is the same. And then you have different strengths and different services and personalities, and which really like strengthens the team piece of it. So when someone's looking in and asking or telling you what their needs are, there's a great chance that you have someone in that group of people that you can match them with, and that they all are going to do a great job as far as the care, but it's everything above that it's different for everyone.
it
Everybody
is.
wants
So,
and needs something different above, the baseline of what postpartum care is.
yes, absolutely. And I'm currently the solo owner, but my original business partner had her husband got a job out of state. She moved away. So one of the doulas that was in our original postpartum doula training had gone on her own, and we had asked her to buy Carly's shares. And so Alyssa was my co owner for a while. I've been sole owner of Gold Coast for the last couple of years, but
Okay.
Alyssa is still involved as an educator and sleep consultant. We have our Becoming a Mother course together and co authored a book together.
Oh, wow.
So she's still involved. Yeah, the book is Supported Your Guide to Birth and Baby. Whoops, upside down
Yeah.
here.
I will
But yes,
definitely put that in the notes for sure.
yeah, and it's got many different descriptions of all of the roles and all of the types of doulas and all of the dream birth and baby team. And we, our primary demographic for readers would be expecting families or preconception, but the
Yep.
secondary would be anyone who works in the birth and baby field.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
amazing. Um, Quick question for you. Have you ever thought, or why aren't you, a doula trainer?
I have been asked to be, but honestly, it's about time. And I feel like we're very similar in person and have a lot of things going on. And right now, my passion is supporting families.
Okay.
And I already do quite a bit of mentoring within my agency, especially with newer birth or postpartum doulas. So I feel
Mhm.
like my capacity is so stretched that
Yep.
it's not anything at this point in my life that I'm ready for, maybe
Okay.
down the road. But the
Okay.
book was a couple-year process creating the online course. And
Yep.
from having courses was a long
Yep.
process. And
Yes.
so, and being a sole owner, there are only so many hours in the day. And from all of the different things you're juggling, the podcast,
Yep.
your course, the masterminds, it's a
Yep.
lot.
Yeah, I feel like it took me, I would say, like a few years to figure out like really good time management, like as far as my schedule. And I think I say this, I think I have it finally down pat. Um, Out of the 5 days of the week, 3 are dedicated to agency
Yes.
business stuff. I mean, clients and doulas and schedules and invoices and all of that. Um, Wednesday, I call my CEO day, and it's a day where I just work on the business. There's no client calls, there's no nothing to do with the agency. It is solely working on projects that are helping us grow, or finances, or any of my trainings or programs. Like, that is the day that I work on those things. And then Friday is possibly my, 3-day weekend, but usually it's the catch all day for anything that I've missed. So
Yes.
I feel like I finally have like an organization in my schedule, and like sequentially it works. But it took me a long time to figure out. I always felt like I was doing all the things all the time.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's brilliant that you have a CEO day. I have an administrative day, a
Yep.
day that I do all the follow up with clients. I still take birth clients, but it's much reduced. I stopped taking postpartum clients a couple of years ago, but
Yep.
I also still teach.
It's hard to be in a client's home, or it's hard to be dedicated to your clients when the business piece is always calling you. There's
Always.
always prospective clients reaching out, asking questions, doulas needing something. So even when I'm away from like my computer or my phone, you come back and you have 42 things that they're not pressing, like they need you right now, but like they need you in the next 24 hours. And yeah, CEO day, I will tell you, is the smartest thing I have done for like managing my time and checking off the boxes. And nothing's worse than feeling like you're so busy but you're not productive. Like your
Right.
your schedule is packed, but it's like, what boxes have you checked today? What did you finish? And sometimes I would feel like I finished nothing. Like I was at my computer, I was doing so many things, but like, what did I actually accomplish? In full, nothing. So
Yeah.
I've very much changed um, the way that I structure things. So I'm checking more boxes and like getting things off the list.
I love it. So my business is operated on EOS for a couple years, Entrepreneurial Operating System. Gina Wickman's Traction book is what it's based off of. I'm sure you're familiar. Our listeners may not be,
Yep.
but that has really helped me organize the meetings with my VAs and other team members and my time.
Hmm.
And so, really focusing on the work that will create the most traction in the business and
Yep.
any rocks that I need to remove to get to the next level in scaling. Because at certain points, I mean, I'm coming on 10 years of business as an agency. You just feel like you can't get past that next like revenue hurdle,
Yep.
and you have to uncover what might be holding you back. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's
absolutely.
mindset for us women.
A lot of times
And
it's mindset. There's nothing physically to remove. There's no barrier. It's all mindset.
yes, agreed. And so, really getting to the bottom of it. And some of it was that I needed to raise my prices, but I was also, wanting to be an option for, I pictured, a middle class family, a musician and a teacher. I still wanted them to be able to afford
Yep.
me, and I needed to step up in order to, you know, pay the contractors what they're worth and to
Yep.
grow the business. So, and not have it just be a charity essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a little workshop on pricing policies and packages. So the three Ps that are always hard conversations. And one of the questions that I was asking was, how do you come up with your pricing? Is it market value? Is it what you need to pay all your stuff? And for me on there, and there was, quite a few agency owners on there, yes, it's the market. Yes, it has to pay my bills, but it also has to take very, very, very good care of our contractors while also maintaining the margin that I want to maintain. So
Yes.
that has a lot to do with our pricing, because I know what they want to get paid and I want to pay them that. So, going backwards, starting with that number, what do I have to, charge in order for them to have what they need? So that plays a big role. And I think that's so important. I read all the time in the agency owners group that this headache and this person's unhappy and this unraveled. And I don't have those headaches because my priority are my contractors. My priority is keeping them happy because if I keep them happy, they keep our clients happy. That keeps me happy. But it has to start with them for sure.
Absolutely. And I was looking as, a sole business owner and later agency owner at the pricing in my market. And it's a mid-sized market, so I'm no Chicago,
Yep, yep.
but everything was so low and it was ridiculously low. So I was trying to stay in line, maybe a little bit above. But over the years, as I increased pricing, then other collectives or agency groups or individual doulas also started shifting their pricing. So I
You're
do
raising
feel
the
like,
bar.
yes, we
Yep.
changed things for our area in that we were pushing it. Otherwise, I mean, doulas were charging $400 for a birth and, $18 an hour for postpartum support.
Yep, yep. Yeah, you have to set the bar at a certain level so our clientele understand the value. And I think, you know, it's that is half of it. And then the other half is as the doula being able to articulate that value. Like why will I happily pay you $60 an hour to come to my house and care for my family overnight? Well, that's the answer to that is very easy. But if you can't give them an answer and you're just saying, oh, you know, you might need this, you probably want to sleep, like that's not the answer. Those are the things that I'm going to do for you, but that's not why you're paying this and that's not why you're hiring me. You're investing in your early parenting, physical health, mental and emotional health. um, we know that depression and anxiety are at an all-time high. Like those are
Yes.
some of the things, the benefits of having postpartum care. you know I want you to look back after 12 weeks and say, wow, that was incredible, when all you hear from other people is, oh, after you get over that 3 month mark, you're going to be so happy because it's so awful, or you're going to be so tired you don't remember it. Like, I don't want that for you. And you don't want that for yourself. You may not realize how important that time is. You don't get that back. The investment you make, the financial investment you make with me, you can make that back. You go to work. I mean, maybe you invest, you never get that time back. So
Exactly. You don't get a
that
do
is
over.
a big factor. And birth doulas too. Like, you don't get to go back and change the things that happened during your labor. And when you have someone there with you who knows how you want things to go, and they know what you want and they know what you don't want, and they have your back and your front and your sides. I mean, they have partner support. That, it doesn't ensure you anything, but it surely helps. It makes it easier for you to get to where you want to be and not look back and say, oh, I wish I said this or I wish I did this, because you can't go back.
You can't. Not at all. Yeah. And I just look at, I mean, I love having an agency. I miss the client work. I'm sure you do as well. I mean, again, I take
Sometimes,
limited clients.
sometimes I do. And, early on in the agency, um, I would reserve myself for like the perfect client for me, someone
Yeah.
who lives close by, perfect timing. But I do feel like I'm so connected to our clients, even though I'm not physically taking care of them, whether it's birth or postpartum. Um, I do stay connected to them, and I spend a lot of time with them early on to get to know them so I can really make the perfect match. But it doesn't end there. Like, I do some, random check ins, and we have conversations via text. And sometimes it's just, hey, checking in. And sometimes they have a question for me that, you know, is scheduling or adding on to a contract, or something that it's for me, not the doula. But then we end up talking about, how breastfeeding's going. And so I don't feel like I'm disconnected, but I've been known to pop by a client's house, to say hi or bring some pastries, or, so I do get to see clients. I do get to hold babies, not on a regular basis, but when I want to or when I need to, when I'm
Right.
feeling like I need to.
Yes. And that is a beautiful way to be able to still have your hand in things. And as
Yeah.
agency owners, we do that matchmaking. And I agree. It's a different type of relationship than being in
Yeah.
person with them every day or at their labor. But we still get to know exactly what type of support they want, and figure out the ideal doula or team of doulas for them. So
Yeah.
I do my the task that I would likely not get rid of is more of that direct client interaction and matchmaking. That is, I could get rid of so many other roles in the agency
Right.
that
I
I
don't think I
currently
will
do.
ever get rid of that either.
Yes,
Um, and it's, I always say the things that you can delegate are things that don't need your face or your personality. And do I think someone else could sell doula care to a client? Of course they could, but like that needs my face and that needs my personality, hands down. That is something that I will keep as long as I can keep doing that. That is not something that I want to delegate. I can always make the time for that. Um,
agreed.
and I don't ever see us being like, oh my God, I have, you know, 30 or 40 inquiries this week and I have to get on Zoom with all of them. I don't open my schedule like that. So that couldn't even happen if we had that kind of clientele.
Right.
A good week is like 12 or 15. I feel like that feels doable for me. I space it over a few days. On Monday evenings, I open it up for clients. Tuesday evenings are for my business clients. A lot of them are West Coast, so that's perfect for me. I'm a night owl. Um,
Nice.
so my schedule really is ideal. And, what I also love about sort of being in that leadership role and having that connection with clients and going to see them if you want to, the intentional division of time is a beautiful, beautiful thing that we get to experience as owners. You don't have to be anywhere, multiple days a week or, 20 or 30 hours at a birth. You can if you want to, but you can also be doing other things too. And you get to decide, whether it's ahead of time or that day, what that day brings and what that means for, your workload and your schedule and your ability to have, coffee with your kids after school or, meet them here or have lunch with your partner. I mean, whatever that looks like. And that's just the freedom of all of this is my favorite part.
Yes. The ability, you just got back from a conference that you put on. So to travel and still be able to do some work. I know when I
Oh, I
travel or
did.
even on vacation, I will get up early and do a couple hours of work and make sure I'm on top of things so I don't get
Yep.
home to hundreds of emails. It's a little more
Yep.
controlled.
But people, it's really funny. They're like, you should have it set up where you can go on vacation and not touch the business. Like,
Uh,
for sure that I could do that, but I don't need to. Like, I find so much, like, it's so empowering for me. And it really just, like, reiterates why I did all of this that I can be on the beach in Florida and sign a client. I can be on the beach in Florida and schedule something with a doula or answer her questions or, sell a course or whatever it is. I find that to be something so incredible. Like, I want to do those things. I want to have that time where I can multitask. And it's not like my family's all in the pool and I'm, on my phone working. It doesn't look like that at all. But like you said, if you can get up a little early before everyone gets their day started and get a few things done, so when you get home, you're not overwhelmed.
right. And I think for your listeners and students who are considering moving to a different model, a partnership, an agency, they might want to, figure out what their motivation is
Hmm.
and understand what strengths they could bring to the role of an agency owner, and the need to be able to interact with contractors, with clientele,
Yep.
to have hard conversations. And if you're a sole owner, like the two of us are, then you're the face, and like
Yep.
anything, it all comes back to you.
And I
And
love that.
so,
I love
I do
holding that
too.
responsibility. Like, I don't think it's scary. A lot of people are almost afraid to succeed because it just means your face is out there more, and it means
Yeah,
more people are looking and talking and needing things from you. But if you manage it well, it does not feel that does not feel like a task. That does not
no,
feel overwhelming. It's like, it's funny. My in my previous life, I was an event planner, and it's the same thing. You're taking 100 moving pieces and paring them down slowly to either, like, a birth or postpartum, and you're streamlining everything into like one big event. And I'm like, this, it
yeah,
feels so natural, but in the process, you are managing other people. You're managing clients and contractors, and you're managing yourself. I find, and tell me if you agree, I find it so much more difficult managing my own time when I have more of it.
oh yes,
Like, it
absolutely.
makes no sense, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, no. And it is important to have, like, you do those block scheduling
Yep,
and to prioritize. And as agency owners, we need to be doing the $100 an hour tasks and not the $10 an hour
yep,
tasks that we could be vending out to someone else or bringing on an employee part time.
yep,
And so, but it's all about what you love. And for the two of us from this conversation, we love the client interaction, the customer service,
yep, yep.
the interaction with the team of contractors. And
Yes.
so for me, I mean, finance is not my jam. I can read my P&L report and understand the basics, but I have an accountant, I have a
Yep,
bookkeeper. I
yep.
still,
You need to.
approve and go over payroll, but that is not my strong suit. I'm more of a visionary CEO and not a CFO.
Yep, yep. And it's great because you can find your strengths, utilize those, and then delegate the other things that you don't feel like you either want to do or that you're great at. Like, yes, I could be my own bookkeeper, but what takes someone else 2 hours would take me probably 6 or 7, and then what I pay them is less than what 6 or 7 hours of my time is worth. So it's like,
Exactly.
not that I couldn't do it, but it's not my strength. Those things are not my strength.
Yeah.
Um,
And so I think for anyone who's considering it or wants to grow, like analyzing their strengths, using a tool like Strengths Finder or something,
yep,
and finding what you love, what you're good at, and figure out someone else to help or automation. I mean, you're brilliant with automation and figuring out what can be simplified
yep.
and put into a workflow, communication
Otherwise, we're
wise.
here all day doing the
Yeah.
same task over and over and over again, the same emails. And that's such a hard thing. It's one of those things where I have a lot of new owners who are like, you know, I don't want it to be, robotic with automations and canned emails. And it can be so personal. But if you
Yeah.
think about the things you're saying to a new client, either before they sign or after they sign, it is the same information. Do I always put in something funny and personal if we talked about something funny and personal? Yes, of course, you can go in and change it, but the body of the email, it's the same basic information, the same logistics of what to expect next. So why would you want to type that over and over and over again? So they feel like they can't let go of that personalized, conversation piece, but you can very much let go of that. That takes a
Yes.
lot of time.
I do the same thing. I change things up based on a conversation, but having the canned emails and
Yes,
the forms and templates, even
so
for my
important.
contractors, they can upload an expired CPR certification to Dubsado that I use, and I don't
Yep.
have to
I was
call
just going to
them,
ask
collect
you.
it. Hmm.
Yep. I use
I use
Dubsado too.
Dubsado, I use Float for scheduling,
Yep.
and then I use Connect Team for communicating with my team. So it's an app, and then we can communicate about clients, or if someone's ill and needs backup, then we can all talk. And doulas would be assigned to projects in Float, and then I'm able to check payroll as well through the Float software that they put in their schedule. They put in their availability, their vacation. All of those, platforms are, there's a cost to it. It's an
Yep.
expense, but it's also replacing my time that I used to have in it
Yep.
manually doing all of those tasks. And I can have virtual assistants do higher level work than data entry.
Yep. Yep. Now, before we go, I want to know from you you talked about, moving those rocks to the next goal. What is your next goal? What do you have on the books for 2025? The big one, your big one.
Well, my big goal for this next year is to fully expand to northern and southwest Michigan, so serving up and down Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
We announced an expansion a couple of years ago and serviced those areas, but the distance is so far from my area. I've had a difficult time finding doulas who are at the skill level and are willing to have liability insurance to be certified in some smaller towns that are tourist based. And you get that with like Cape Cod and other areas. Like we
Yeah.
have that in Lake Michigan. And so I've turned work away all year in those areas, have not marketed it, and have only been able to touch the surface of that. So in order to hit my next income goal, I need to focus on having a full team of postpartum doulas in Southwest and Northern Michigan.
All right. Well, you said it out loud here, so has to work out now.
Maybe someone listening lives in those areas in a lakeshore town and
Maybe.
might be reaching out. Fingers
Maybe.
crossed.
I will write that down and see who I know.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, this has been a pleasure. I feel like we are very similar in the way we run our businesses and sort of our why. Our why feels very similar.
Agreed. Well, I am here for your, anything that you would like to continue the conversation on,
Yes.
whether it's within your platform or another podcast. But I loved this chat, and there's so many options. And as we said earlier, just it's based on what your goals are.
Yep.
And what brings you the most passion. Is it working directly with clients? Then maybe having a small team, or do you want more impact the way both of our agencies have? And you mentioned other paths like being a doula trainer, and that can fuel your agency. If you're training, then you are able to hand select. So there's so many different paths. So I don't think any path is wrong. It's really whatever.
It has to match what you want to put into it, but also what you're looking to get out of it. People ask me all the time, what's the difference between a collective and an agency? And, my first question is, tell me about yourself. Tell me about, do you like group projects? Do you like to work solo? What are you looking to put into it? What do you want to get out of it? And, for me, I have a strong personality and I love the management piece. I love a lot of moving parts coming together. So I know for me, I probably would not choose a collective. Not that I'm not a team player, but I know it's not for me.
Right.
So I always try to, before I tell people the difference between one and the other, I get a good feel for them and what they're looking for. And then it feels very apparent after that, which one, feels like the right move. A solo versus a partnership. I mean, all of those things. It's not like you're looking at a bunch of TVs and you're picking out the one that looks the best. It has to be what you feel like you're going to do best in. I probably wouldn't be the best person to have like a collective or a partnership. I'm very much a solopreneur.
Love it. Well, thank you, Jody. It was great to
Thank
connect with
you.
you again. It's been a bit.
Yes. We will definitely continue this conversation. Probably won't be for the listeners, but it'll probably just be between us. But I really appreciate you taking the time. Your dog did not bark.
Amazing. Sleeping.
Oh, good. Good boy, good girl. Is it a boy or a girl?
Boy.
What kind of dog?
I have a toy poodle, Milo.
Okay. So I had a German Shepherd, the very opposite.
Yes. But yeah, Milo has that high pitched bark. So once it happens, watch out.
Yes. Yes. I have two very, very silent cats right in front of me. So we went
Aw,
from like big dog circus to like, oh, no noise. There's no noise happening here. Which is
nice.
nice, but it also feels very sad and lonely. So topic
I
for another
bet.
time. My whole audience knows all about my dog journey and all of that. So they're probably like, oh,
Yes.
and I'll be talking about it for a long time still. Still, not over it, not even close. So always a topic of conversation. Um, thank you, Kristin. I appreciate you. I will make sure everybody knows about the book, and
Thank
just
you.
where to find you if they have questions. And people have a lot of questions. They heard about your journey, but they're going to have these like funny little personal questions that go along with it that kind of help them make decisions in their own business. So I will make sure everybody knows, where to reach you, how to reach you, and I will definitely put it out there to see if I know anyone in those areas of Michigan who could be helpful.
That would be great. I'm here for the questions. So love it. And
So,
thank you again.
perfect. Thank you so much. And you guys, thank you for listening and keep being bosses.
Yes.